completed. So if I forget anytime, please just remind me to switch on the record option so that the session will be recorded and it will be useful for the absentees or for some people if they cannot attend the sessions on during the interactions. So if you see this syllabus, the syllabus is already been shared to you. Those who are already logged in, you can just go through this. So only thing is the prerequisites for this course is you need to have certain knowledge and the skills related to the computer networking, communication, and of course the computer organization and architecture, and the softwares such as Java programming or Python programming or JavaScripts. So those are the basic things that you need to have it. And of course, you should have some interest on the hardware devices too. So until unless you don't have interest on interacting with these hardware devices, the course will be looking very much bored. So you have to have a clear understanding. You should have the clarity. So please remember, this is a course which involves your hardware as well as software. Please, in simple terms, this is one particular course which requires your interest, your passion towards using your hardware devices with your software for managing and controlling those hardware devices. As simple as that. So, of course, just now I have dwell upon this particular syllabus contents. Maybe for a beginner, maybe these terms will be a very big jargon words for you. Do not worry about all these things. Slowly, we'll go by topic wise, and you'll try to get the understanding very clearly, I hope. And I'll try my best to deliver the things in a very simple and easy manner so that you can try to do it in a more practical way. So until unless you don't do the practice for this particular course, more likely the course is definitely is going to be a Greek and Latin for you. So if you are done or if you are going to do this practice with your interest, then definitely I assure you that you are going to do a good justice for your real-time applications that you're going to use it in your later part of your life. So that's what the basic things. That's the big picture about this particular course. So I'm not insisting you to buy all these books or to acquire these books for you, but nevertheless, as and when the topics goes on, I will be telling you the I'll be giving the lecture notes as well as the slides, and of course this practice things how to go on week wise. I'm going to give certain schedule and as well as the material related to this, so that these exercises you can execute it on your emulators as well as simulators and as well as on the real physical devices which you can connect through remotely and do those works. So that goes in a step-by-step manner. Everything cannot be done on one particular single day. So I request you all to be regularly attend this course. Definitely, if you are going to miss some of the lectures or some of those contents, definitely you are going to miss the connectivity among those points, because the syllabus is structured in a way that the sequence is the most important point. The sequence is definitely there is a flow of understanding from the from a beginner to an of course to a middle level management and to a, I cannot say an expert level, but at least to a medium level of understanding of this particular course. And definitely this course is going to be useful because this is an interdisciplinary course. When I say interdisciplinary, because the IoT itself is going to be very much useful in our day-to-day life. So if you see any application, you try to use this. Somehow the IoT is going to be related to that. And definitely the knowledge and the skills that you gain in this course will be helpful for you to understand the things, to be applying your machine learning and artificial intelligence things on the things itself in a very easy manner. So these all is a just basic things that I would like to dwell upon. And yeah, please let me know if any doubts on the syllabus, please, so that we can start our introduction to Internet of Things. I hope am I audible to you? Yes, please.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
So will you be saying evaluation criteria in this class on coming Tuesday?
Anurag, yeah, you have. I can see that you have changed your name to Analog. Very good. Technically, Anurag. Yeah.
Because
Yes, yes. Very
actually
good.
I've started a YouTube channel, so that's why I've changed the name.
Oh, very good. Sounds good actually. Hmm. So here, evaluation strategy, I'll give you on the next week, please. Once the all other students also join our course and it is finalized, so the other students can also understand. So basically, it is, see, officially you don't have a practical lab component for this course because this is an elective course. So, but I do keep giving you the exercises and I will be telling you how to do those exercises. That is basically the practicals on Raspberry Pi and Arduino with simple programming things. So that kind of procedures that needs to be, that includes your evaluation, the assessments, things and all. So more clarity on how many assignments, how many midterms will be there, that I will give you in writing. I'll post it on the Moodle course page after uh, the second week is over. Let the other students also join, then we will try to formulate and we'll fix those things. Any other doubts, please?
Okay, sir.
Like when we are trying to do practical at home,
Yes,
wouldn't we
Fazin, please tell
require,
me. Can you speak loudly?
sir, when we are trying to do practical at home, wouldn't we require those hardwares?
Yeah, just now because Fazin, I think you have joined little
Yeah,
late.
yes, sir.
Even Kulshrestha has asked me the same question in the beginning of the sessions. That's why I'm telling you once again, you need not buy any electronic gadgets. Please do not buy. If you have already, that is fine with you. You can practice it. You need not buy any electronic gadgets for this particular course and for the practicals which I'm going to give it to you.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Because I don't want to disclose everything in today's session because some of them are yet to join the course. There will be some swappings will be there, but most likely the next beginning of the next week it will be completed. So other students also will join. Then they will miss the information if I completely tell now in this week. That's why let us just hold on till next week.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
But whatever the syllabus I have prescribed to you, that is my assurance to you that I will cover this syllabus and these practicals, what is been listed on here. Okay. So this is my our contract, this syllabus, what is given here. So definitely, I will try my best to complete the 100% coverage of this, what we are going to, what we have prescribed on the syllabus. Any other doubts, please? Any other queries? Yeah. So before we start this introduction, I would like to hear from you. Is there any student who has not studied computer networking course or something related to computer networks and communications? Please be frank and let me know what is the status. That's why. So all the 30 students which are present, who are present in this session, are aware of computer networking and communications. So I assume that you know this computer networking and communications, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Good. Um, Very good. That will be the minimum things that required for this course. That is fine. And of course, Java, JavaScript, Python. How many of you are aware of these things, please?
Yes, sir. No.
Java, I think I know. I only taught to the integrated MTech, but I think for MTech CS AIIT students, I hope you are aware of the Java programming or the JavaScripts. Please remember there is a difference between Java programming and JavaScripts.
Sir,
Yes, please.
do we need all three?
Of course. But if you are conversant with one programming language also is enough. You can easily shift on to the other things as you require.
Okay.
So it is not a hard constraint that is required for you to have all the three. It is just a soft constraint. So do not worry about even if you don't know the others, something like JavaScript or Java. At least one is known to you, Swam.
I know Python and Java, but JavaScript I know little bit, not very much.
Okay, so I think that should not be a very big problem.
IT lab we have JavaScript, right?
Yes, of course. Yeah, I think IT lab. Yeah, JavaScript is this. Oh, you are studying currently in this semester, right? Yes, yes. So don't worry about that. By the second unit, I think you have the JavaScript in IT lab. I'm the teacher for you, so it will be covered in that. So do not worry about that. It is a simultaneous thing for you all. So that will help you. Do not worry. By the time you come to the other experiments, at least 2-3 experiments will be there on the JavaScripts here. So I would like to make sure that you have 2 to 3 experiments each on Python, JavaScript, Java, like this, MySQL database. So these things will be there for you. Sonam Sharma, sir, I don't know Python. Yeah, so at least what I'm trying to say is, if you don't know the programming language which you are going to see in this course of study, do not worry much on that, because the introduction part of that programming language definitely I'm going to give you for that particular experimentation purpose. Since if you have the object oriented programming concepts, so the object oriented programming concepts that will be sufficient for you to understand how to play with your data in the programming. So in the Python also, most likely you'll see your object-oriented programming concepts. That should be sufficient. Only thing is your syntax and your indentations and a little bit on the style of writing is going to be different. Other than that, nothing else. So as an MTech student, see, please remember, tomorrow when you go abroad or when you go to the industry, so you may have to go about into a different programming language which you might have not studied in your course of study. So please remember, we are all in this particular field, computer science and IT field, which is very dynamic and dynamic, of course, and is very fast in the sense that things will change very quickly. It will not be lasting for a longer period of times. The programming languages, the tools, and all. So whenever you are working on different projects, you have to use different set of tools, and you need to shift yourself, and you have to tune yourself to so many other things in a very quick manner. So please do habit of changing your mind to tune into those things very easily. So do not. That's what I'm telling Vishal. Please do not worry about the new things. Definitely, this is the time for you to explore all those new things. And I'm not telling be an expert on those new things, but at least you should be having certain ideas on going about all this. So you should put your efforts in learning them. Definitely, it will be helpful for you to in your career, the next part of your career. That's what I'm telling. Okay, sometimes the captions are not showing the correct words. Do not worry about that, and we'll see how the things to be done properly. Any other doubts, please? Any other queries? Yeah. So let me give you some basic introduction to the Internet of Things. Of course, these slides, I think I just recently completed one workshop, which we have completed for the faculty. So I'm using the same slides, which I prepared for that presentations. But of course, this is just an introduction to the Internet of Things. This is not our syllabus content, please. Just to have an awareness and to have certain kind of inclusiveness for your course to be understood for the people who are having a second thought of leaving the course. So this particular, the coming half an hour to 40-minute session, we will try to understand why do we need this course and what is this Internet of Things and how did this start and what are the hardware and software things that are required for you to understand this course very well. So why we need this Internet of Things subject or the course itself? So if you can see this diagram carefully, what you see is basically there are a lot of things. Things are basically your physical objects which are around us in our day-to-day life. So we are using these physical objects. It can be a mobile phone, it can be a bicycle, it can be a key, it can be a telephone, television, transportation devices, electronic devices, non-electrical things, electrical things, electronics things, whatnot, everything. Everything, when I say everything, means that are been surrounded by us. All those things which are surrounded by us, definitely in one way or the other, we are going to use them or they are going to be useful for us. So when we are using them or when you are going to use them, uh, how do we make use of them in a best way or in a better way so that our day-to-day life will be very active and will be very useful for us and it is going to support our day-to-day living. So when we use these things in our day-to-day life, we receive a lot of data. So if you have certain things, these things are being augmented, means some these things are being connected with certain other electronic and electrical gadgets. So you can collect the data that is being originated from these devices. So once you receive a lot of data from these things which are being used in our day-to-day life, what is that we are going to do with those things? Of course, you try to manage those things or you can control them or you can make an automation out of them for our better living. So what we are trying to do is we are making these things to do certain kinds of automations or automatically do something for us. So for an elderly people, certain things will be helpful for them because in the elderly age, people cannot do the things by themselves or people cannot do very well. Not only for the elderly people, for the diseased or for the hospitalized people. So some kind of automation is required. Of course, in our day-to-day life, when we are using motor vehicles or something like the smart transportations, so things are acting very smartly. Things are being done very intelligently in the sense that we are making them to do things automatically. So these things are automatically doing certain things or certain activities or certain operations or certain functions. So we do automate those things for our better living. Very in simple terms, for our day-to-day life, those automations are helping us to have a better lifestyle or to have a better living. How to make these things smarter or how the things are getting smarter, how the automation things are getting happen. So this Internet of Things, in one way, it is nothing but having certain automation. So having that automation is not new thing today. This when the industrial revolution has originated, the industrial revolution itself is basically making the things do automatically. So the automation has started very long back in 1950s, 60s itself. So the industrial era, when the industrial era has begun in the electromechanical things are been getting manufactured, there themselves the automation things have started. So the automation things when itself is nothing but in one form. It is now in this current era we call it as that automation as an Internet of Things. That is the only thing. So because the things are connected by through internet, obviously those we call it as Internet of Things. In the olden days, things are just doing automatically, but they are not been interconnected or not been connected by an internet. Nowadays we call it as Internet of Things, basically to do some kind of automation for our day-to-day life. Now, what is this Internet of Things? So basically, as I mentioned just now, we are using our everyday things that are connected with each other, so that those interconnections of things will enable us to do a smarter way of living. In other terms, for smarter tomorrow, we use those things to get interconnected and make the best of them, so that our day-to-day life will be smoother, happier, and healthier. So this interconnection of things is happening in everything, in the sense that if you look for our agriculture purpose, so the agricultural automations, so you can increase the yield, the production of those agriculture with by having certain automations, and that automation is again guided by the Internet of Things principles itself. If you look to the energy consumptions, so the energy, the smart grids, the smart, you might have heard all these terms basically in our day-to-day life. You might have heard about what are called smart grids or smart microgrids, or smart energy consumptions or smart meters, like this one and so forth. So we use these things in a smarter way. So now we are seeing the security and surveillances, the cameras, the videos which are being collected. Of course, they are basically the computer vision technologies have been used to make the things in a smarter way. So for building assets like your water management or your electricity management or the people's management, so on and so forth, in the telemedicine, healthcare, smart homes, smart cities, in our everyday things that we use in our day-to-day life. Of course, in the machine-to-machine, M2M, and wireless sensor networks, the embedded mobiles, vehicles, assets, persons, and pet monitoring, the animal monitoring, the plant monitoring, everything that you see in our day-to-day life are getting connected with each other to have a smarter tomorrow. So that means basically you are trying to make use of these things in a better way. So until unless you don't use those things, you will not get a better utilization of your time and your day and your healthy things. So we make use of these things by incorporating your artificial intelligence techniques onto those things, so that those things will act smarter and make our things smarter and make our day smarter, to make the decisions wisely and as well as to make our life happily. Ultimately, these are all the things that are getting connected to have certain kind of smarter automations for our day-to-day life. What is this Internet of Things? Please remember, there are only three important ingredients this Internet of Things carries. The one particular ingredient is basically on the instrumentation. Basically, this instrumentation carries about sensing the objects. So there must be certain kind of mechanism where our everyday objects are to be sensed, or very everyday objects are to be monitored. Everyday objects that we are going to use or in use are having certain characteristics such as sensing. This sensing objects is basically is being studied under the topic called instrumentation. So the instrumentation guys, or the electrical and instrumentation, or the electronics and instrumentation guys know how to collect the sensing properties, or the sensing property can be realized by using those physical objects. So the instrumentation is the one particular topic. Basically, this instrumentation can be electrical, electronics, and as well as the mechanical subjects. These people can easily understand how those electrical, electronic, mechanical, or the physical objects can be easily augmented. Augmented means added upon with certain sensing properties to collect the data of those objects usage. So the other important area where if you are going to study the Internet of Things, is the second area is called communication area. Of course, in the communication, we are going to, nowadays technology is basically on the understanding of wireless communications, how wireless communications are happening in our day-to-day life and how they are helping us to do our things in a smarter way. So in the olden days, when the communication standards and the communication technologies are not get evolved very much, there used to be a wired communication. So you hope you know what is the difference between wired communication and wireless communication. So today's technology has much advanced on the communication aspects too, and we are mostly focusing on the wireless communications for the Internet of Things themes of applications. So the other area where very much required for our making the Internet of Things a smarter one is having the information processing. See, once you collect the data from those objects usages and those data is being passed through wireless medium to other set of entities where certain kinds of information processing or the data processing has to takes place so that proper decisions can be inferred from that collected data. So those data that is been getting processed here is very much important, and we try to induce certain artificial intelligence mechanisms for that collected data to make the data inferences or to make the decisions in a much wiser way. So these are the three important areas or the three important ingredients where every one which who are doing certain things or studying under the topic called Internet of Things is. So basically it is an interdisciplinary area which involves electrical, instrumentation, electronics, mechanical, with communication and the networking, and as well as the data processing with your artificial intelligence or your machine learning. So all these three areas are going to be together here. So this is one particular subject area where, of course, an expert can do wonders if an expert has got a good understanding, the good knowledge and skills on all the three areas. If you have a knowledge on any of these three areas, and if you have a medium knowledge level on all the three areas, yes, you can do a good amount of good work, and of course, you can contribute to the society and up to yourself itself. So if you look to these three levels, you can see it a hierarchical way of understanding these three different set of areas. So you can see at the low level, the low level is itself is the low level itself is we have certain sensors or actuators or certain thing electronic and electrical instrumentation devices in simple terms. So these electrical electronic instrumentation devices, we call it as a sensors or actuators, they are being connected to our physical objects. So they do sense the things, they do actuate the objects, they do certain kinds of collecting the informations of the objects usage. So those are the sensors at the very low level in the hierarchy. And coming to a little higher level, we have certain local processing systems, which are a little bit capable of processing the data very near to the data origin. So those local processing units basically have certain capabilities of doing the collected data to have certain processing at the nearest to the data origin or nearest to the object usage itself. So then coming to a little further higher level, you can store the data onto a higher medium where you can do a much more data processing. And of course, you can pass on the data through the network to other set of entities through a network. And if you're going to send the data to a remote place, yes, the physical objects data which you have collected through sensors can be sent to a remote entity or to a remote place for further processing or for further inferences through your internet. And of course, if you have seen in the last decade, when I say last decade, the last 10 years, people were collecting the objects data and they were trying to store and process the data at the cloud level. So, but doing the data processing at the cloud level has got a lot of disadvantages in the current scenario. So people have moved from the cloud down to the line, and they want to have the inferences, much smarter decisions, very accurate decisions, and very real-time decisions instead of getting the data from the cloud or instead of getting the inferences from the cloud. That inferences can be easily obtained or easily realized when the data processing is taking place at very near to the data origin. So that's what in the latest trend which is going to happen, that's we call it as something called edge or a fog computing. We'll come to that edge or a fog computing in the later course of our study. But if you look to the industry perspective, the industry people, they have coined the IoT architectures in a different way. But nevertheless, all these architectures resemble in one form or the other as a stack layered. So you have a layered architecture which is proposed by Cisco as well as Oracle as well as IEEE and other set of other industry giants in this market. They have given different set of architectures, and there is a much difference here. The difference is in respect of their usages itself. So basically, Oracle company is basically focuses on the data processing, whereas Cisco is basically focuses on the communication and as well as on the networking. So that's why their layers are having different terms here, and the Oracle layers are giving different terms or different levels of functionalities. And of course, the IEEE standard itself, because it is a standard, and of course, this standards has to be governed by various other entities of hardware and software. So their layers are being coined in a different way here. So we'll come back to this more in depth about these IoT architectures, and we'll study more clearly on the Tuesday's class. So at this moment, I will just say something here. Cisco has proposed the IoT architecture as a layered architecture, of course, the 7-layered architecture here. So if you see our ISO OSI 7-layer model, the same thing, 7 layers models also resemble more or less the same way. So at the lower level or the lowest level, you have something called physical devices and controllers, the things in IoT, which are very much connected to the things itself. So basically the sensors, machines, devices, intelligent edge nodes of different types. And at the layer 2, you have a connectivity layer, which can be used for communication processing purposes. And at layer 3, we have something called edge or a fog computing. We'll see what is this edge and a fog. There's a difference between edge and a fog computing, which is also a sub area of Internet of Things. So keep on going further into the higher layers. You see the data accumulation, the data abstractions, the applications, and the collaborations. That's how the Cisco has proposed their IoT architecture. If you look to the Oracle, yes, the Oracle also given at the lowest level, you have the devices which are interconnected with each other through an intelligent gateway, and there is a communication network is going to be established to connect various other devices, and that data is going to be passed and is managed at the higher layers for various applications. So when you look to the IEEE standard, the same thing resembles here. At the lower level, you have different physical objects like your dishwasher, washing machines, lighting systems, coffee makers, guitars, whatnot. All physical objects are there here. And at the higher level, the IEEE has given an abstraction such that this is a universal thing description. Who am I? Who makes me? What can I do? All that is going to be managed and controlled at the higher level for these objects. And at the further higher levels, you have certain applications and services which govern the usage of those objects. So very simple architectures, of course, easy to understand, but the technical intricacies are very much required, so that we will dwell upon this on the next week. But please do remember, one of the important things of Internet of Things is the sensing. Internet of Things will not work properly if you are not having proper sensing mechanism. That means sensing is one particular characteristic where you will try to understand how you are trying to use those physical objects. So if you cannot measure those usage of those objects, then obviously if you cannot measure means you cannot improve the utility of those objects in the next stage. Basically, this is what the Lord Kelvin has mentioned, that if you cannot measure it, you cannot improve it. So anything, if you cannot measure it, you cannot improve it. Very simple to say. If you are not having your regular continuous assessments, your mid exams and your semester exams, you cannot improve it in your study. Very simple to say. So this regularly having examinations always will measure your capabilities. And once you know your capabilities, you can improve it further. You know what are your weaknesses, you know what are your strengths, then ultimately you can improve it further in your next semester, so on and so forth. That's why measurement is always required. You cannot leave anything like that. Until unless you don't measure it, you cannot improve it. So fundamentally, this is the principle of sensing too, and that is also the important characteristics for our Internet of Things. So what you see is on Internet of Things, themes of applications is the basic things called as sensors. So you can see there are wide variety of sensors available in the market for different set of objects, for different set of applications too. So these sensors, what they do collect the data, they do measure the values. If these sensors are integrated with those physical objects, the sensors has the nature to collect their usage values. They measure the values, how the object is being used. And obviously that the measured values are will be in the raw data, that we call it as a raw data. So there is a process data, of course there is a decision data. So we have different types of data at different levels of Internet of Things framework. And please do remember, these electrical, electronic, instrumented gadgets or devices are basically run on low power. It means they consume less energy. So the less energy is the most important characteristics of these particular sensors. So we'll see more about in the course of study. Just to have a brief idea, you can see there is a gaseous sensor here. So looks for the gases what you are going to collect. There is a DHT, digital humidity and temperature sensor on the left side. You can see here there is a push button here. There is a buzzer here. Of course, they collect the analog and as well as digital data and so on and so forth. Each sensor is having certain set of properties here. So above the sensors, you have certain things called as local processing or local storage, something like this. If you see this hierarchy, so in this hierarchy, at the bottom level you have sensors, and above to the level you have something called local processing or local storage devices. The same thing, the next level where you see the local processing and the local storage devices are something similar to the diagrams which are shown here. So these are some electronic gadgets or electronic devices. What they do is they do have certain capabilities of processing the data at this particular device level. And these devices can also be interconnected to the physical objects. So most likely, for most of the IoT applications, the sensors do collect the data and the sensors do forward the data to these local processing devices or local storage devices. So sensors are connected to these devices and we do process the data at this device level itself. When you say process means you do some kind of data manipulations here. Data processing is going to happen on these devices. So once you do the data processing, you can make some decisions on how to use the object more effectively, or how the environment can be made wiser, or how the environment can be smarter by processing the data here. So this type of data processing where the sensors are very much connected to these devices or very much connected to the physical objects, or these devices themselves are connected to the physical objects, and the data processing is happening on these devices itself. So we call it as basically this type of computationing, the data processing or the data which is being managed and controlled here itself is basically called as edge computing. So the edge computing is what is means at very near to the edge of those devices or very near to the edge of those interconnected devices. So there is a small difference between edge computing and a fog computing, where the processing is going to happen a little away from these devices, but not very far away as like cloud computing. So that particular computing is called as a fog computing. So more elaborately, we'll study it in our second and the third units about this edge and fog computing, but it is also a part of our Internet of Things. So moving further on to the IoT framework, you'll see on the top of those local processing and local storage devices, you will have certain networking and communication devices too. So basically those networking and communication devices, we call it as a gateways. So those gateways are enable us to connect various other sensing devices, and they accumulate all those sensors information at a particular level, and they do process at that particular level, or they do forward the data to some other networking devices for some other purpose. So that's what these gateways do help us to forward or to process the data very near to the data origin. So if you look to the standards of the industry, we have certain things called as the gateway protocols. So you have a low power, this is what got a 6 low pan. So this is a 6 low pan indicates your low power private area networks. You'll have a long range wide area networks, LoRaWAN. You can have a Bluetooth low energy communication or a protocol which will help us to process the data. In addition to these gateway protocols, you have something called as internet protocols, which are also going to be useful for our Internet of Things communication. Something called as constrained application protocol. We call it as co-app constraint. Some kind of constraints are there in processing those data. And you have something called MQTT. Of course, some people call it as message queue, MQ, but it's not exactly MQ. So don't technically MQ doesn't stand for message queue. It is basically MQ transport telemetry, MQTT. Of course, you have HTTP hypertext transfer protocol, and you have XMPP protocols for your Internet of Things applications data to move across various devices. So on the top level, you have something called as a cloud processing and a storage, where once the data is collected from the sensors, as you can see, again, you come back to the original diagram here. So once you collect the data from the sensors, some data can be processed either locally or the data can be processed at the remote place through the help of your cloud. So for the last decade, most of the applications are trying to process the data at the cloud level rather than at the local level. So people have a misconception that once you collect the data, you send it to the cloud and everything will happen there, and the cloud will give you the inferences or the decisions from the cloud to the respective sensors. But there were certain problems with that for certain applications where real-time responses are very much in need. So something like a real-time video responses for the something examples like for a healthcare, for the transport sessions and so on and so forth. So real-time responses were not being achievable. That's why cloud processing and cloud computing has got certain disadvantages too. So that's why people have moved from the cloud computing to something called as edge computing and fog computing. So the current era, the current trend on the Internet of Things is basically on this edge and the fog computing. A lot of explorations, the research explorations and in industrial automations, things are happening at the edge and the fog computing level. But nevertheless, you should have an idea for certain applications, cloud computing and is also been very much required. So it's not that completely you can move from cloud computing to the fog computing or to the edge computing. So we have the cloud computing. What needs to be understood is how do you aggregate the data? How do you collect the fusion data from various wireless sensor networks? And how do you store them? And how do you process? And how do you make certain wise decisions? These are all the aspects that needs to be understood from the Internet of Things perspective. So that also you're going to study in the third unit. So before we try to understand what this Internet of Things, and of course you might have understood now at least what it contains, but let me give you some idea how did this has started. Internet of Things has started almost the way back 1990s when the internet itself has originated from the TCP/IP. So it has come from something called as open source hardware. You might have not seen this kind of board, but we have seen during our engineering study days. So you see a board here, something like this, and there is on the board you have some integrated circuit chip, IC chip we call it as. So this IC chip is basically something called as 8251. So this 8251 chip is basically a microcontroller. A microcontroller has got a certain capability of processing the data. When you give certain data which is connected through these pins, those analog to digital conversions do happen and process the data here. So I'm showing by arrow mark. So this is what the IC basically. So along with this IC on this particular dot board, you have something other components which are connected so that they can be integrated with other set of peripheral devices. But the basic thing here is this is the board. So this particular board or this particular chip, IC chip, is the one who is always the invention for your Internet of Things theme. So this is basically a microcontroller, which is a small programmable device. So I think you might have studied in your computer organization architecture what is a microcontroller. Please do remember there's a difference between a microprocessor and a microcontroller. So don't confuse between a microprocessor and a microcontroller. I am referring here to a microcontroller. So more specifically, please find out the differences and recollect those whatever the study you have done in your computer organization architecture. Anyway, I'll come back to this on the Tuesdays or the next week's class. So the advantage of this microcontroller is that it can be easily connectable to other set of peripherals or to other set of devices. So in this process, there is a board called Arduino. So this Arduino is one that particular microcontroller. This is what you can see it on this blue colored board. You see there is a IC chip, that is what your 8251. So this is a small programmable device. This is Arduino board. Instead of having this particular board, now this board is simply designed with something like this so that there is a provision for you to insert the appliances or insert your sensors or connect your other devices very easily onto this board. So this board has got certain things like USB connector and your power supply, and as well as other analog and digital peripherals can be easily connected to this particular device or to this particular board. So this board is basically called as an Arduino. So of course, Uno is this particular word which has come from the Italy. Uno stands for one. One is the word one. So it is number one board which has initially originated here. So this particular board is basically an open source. So far you might have heard about open source software. Similarly, you have certain thing called as open source hardware. So this Arduino board is basically an open source hardware. And this open source hardware, you can also fabricate your own boards. You can also manufacture in the sense that you can produce these boards, you can prepare these boards and you can sell it. So this is basically an open source hardware, and it is very easy connectable to other analog and digital devices. So you have similar boards of Arduino of different types, having different functionalities, something like Arduino Ethernet. It is can cascade up to, or it can have a networking connections up to 4 simultaneous connections. You can build up the board, you can build up like a stack, you can connect more devices here. You have more functionalities and more realizations on the devices to be connected. You have similarly another board called as Raspberry Pi. You can see this is one particular board. So this is like a mini computer. When I say mini computer, so this particular Raspberry Pi has got a processor. You can see there is a processor here. Of course, this board supports to have an operating system. So whereas, please remember this Arduino board does not have an operating system. Please remember this. So there are differences between these two boards. So this Raspberry Pi is basically a software-oriented programming and supports a lot of networking capabilities. And of course, this is basically a mini computer itself, like your computer, what you see your laptop. Similarly to this your laptop, you have this all functionalities, what the laptop does for you. You can build up your own computer using your Raspberry Pi. You can connect a monitor, you can connect a keyboard. Of course, the processor itself is here. You can connect other sensors or your actuators or other set of electronic devices, and you can program them easily with the help of this particular Raspberry Pi board. So basically your hardware is simply your Arduino board, and your software and networking system can be easily realized with using your Raspberry Pis. So two different boards which are very much needed for your Internet of Things themes of applications. So when you want to really integrate or interact with your hardware easily, your Arduino board is the most apt one. Apt one, and I say it is can be easily integrated, interfaced with your hardware device, of course, and you can easily manage and control those hardware devices. Whereas with the Raspberry Pi, you can also achieve that easiness, but there is a difference between your Arduino and Raspberry Pi. So at the course of our study, you will see what are those differences, for what type of applications these two boards are ideally useful, and so on and so forth. We'll study in our course of study. So not only Arduino and Raspberry Pi, you also have other boards which the Intel has manufactured for us. So like this Intel Galileo, Intel Edison's, BeagleBones, Udo, Parallel. You can see, you can search it, you can see all this set of different boards which are available in the market for various Internet of Things applications. So if you look carefully, what are good for sensors, what are good for networking, and what are good for processing and all. So different boards have come into picture, and different boards are being manufactured by different companies. So you can see our Arduino board itself. This got Atmega 328 microcontroller with basically a 8251 microcontroller functionalities only. So that is being given by the Arduino board itself. You have another chip kit, programmable interface controller, PIC controller. You can see that board something looks like this. You have Texas MSP 430 microcontroller is there. The Texas company manufactures these kinds of boards, which are very good for sensors. And some like this STM32s, the particle, which got an ARM processor with Wi-Fi internets, and Espruino, there's also got an ARM processor which can support JavaScript programming. So these are meant for processing the data very easily. You have Raspberry Pi. Of course, the capabilities are different. If you see, this Raspberry Pi is 900 megahertz ARM processor, which supports 1 GB RAM. Of course, this is the old configuration, but the latest configuration, you have 1.2 gigahertz and your 4 GB of RAM. So, yep. So they have different functionalities, different set of boards here. So you have Intel Galileo boards. Of course, it has got a different processor, 400 megahertz Quark x86 processor. So I hope you know the difference between an ARM processor and an x86 processors. So you have to see the architecture, the instruction sets are going to be different for x86 and ARM processor. So you might have studied in your computer organization and architecture. If not, I will again get back to these details when we start our syllabus in the next week. So I'll go through this at this moment. So we have another Intel Edison's. Similarly, you have BeagleBones, Udos, Parallels. And of course, in order to do the data processing, we have something called different software IDEs, software tools available for us. So that those software tools will be help us to provide our prototyping of those applications very quickly and easily and very efficiently. So you have the softwares for prototyping, for programming purpose, for storage of data and doing analysis, and building different set of solutions. So you have a Arduino software itself. It is an open source software. You can download this Arduino and you can make use to run on your laptop, and you can use this Arduino software to program, means write your own program. The program will be very simple, C++ programming style. So your C++ programming will be very much useful for you to program, means you can write program for your hardware so that your Arduino board can control those hardware devices. So this is one thing. You have another software called Wildreading Studio. So of course, this Wildreading Studio is one particular open source software which can easily connect to your devices remotely and do programming, and which has got different set of platforms. Of course, this has got an emulators and the simulators too. So if you don't have a physically those objects, you can make use of these objects, these softwares, to understand how those softwares can be used very much. Of course, I think you might have known the Eclipse IDE itself, which can support various APIs and various libraries so that you can do your programming very quickly, and your rapid programming can be easily helpful for you to interact with your hardware devices. You have different editors, Vim editors, and so on and so forth. So like this, you have Intel's XEDS if you are having software developments for your Intel Galileo and Edison's boards if you are going to use. And if you're using the cloud platforms, you can use a Xivli or you can use Microsoft Azure. Please remember, these are not freely accessible or freely usable things, but nevertheless, they give you certain amount of storage and certain capabilities so that you can at least understand how the things can work for you with the minimal things. So these are the software tools that you are going to be useful for us for in your development of those things. So now, yeah, of course, I have just given you a big picture, in other terms, a broad view of those what Internet of Things contains about and what is that all about. So any doubts, I just pause for a while so that you can query. If you have any queries, you can put forward now either in the chat window or on the, you can directly ask me. I see that some of you are joining the session very late. See, almost now 1 hour 15 minutes is over. I could see 3 of you are joining. So from next week onwards, it will always better to join the session according to the timings for us. So I hope you know our timetable, right? Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
our Internet of Things course is scheduled on Friday 9 to 11 and Tuesday at what time, please?
12 to 1, sir.
Very good. So hope you are aware of the timetables. So please be on time for our session so that it will not be disturbing me to allow me to join you. Of course, for today's session, some of you are not officially registered in this course. You may be attending just to have some kind of awareness and to clarify your doubts. But next time onwards, the next time means of course from coming Tuesday, we'll have our classes with our syllabus to be moving on. So those class during the class timings, please do be too punctual to attend those sessions. So I think on 1 or 2 people are left anyway. Yeah, any queries, please? Any kind of query which is related to the course, which you are having certain thing to be understood. If not the present slides, but do not worry, any general things which needs this to be clarified or something is which is hindering to you what this course is all about and all, you can ask me also, no problem. Because I said today we are not starting the syllabus, just an introductory class to have some kind of awareness what this course is all contains. Full Shrestha, are you online?
Yes, sir.
So are you able to follow?
Yes, sir.
What about Nibas?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Just Rupesh, what part of COA and computer networks we need to know already? See, computer organization and architecture, of course, we is not that compulsory needed here, but at least see, if I ask you, Rupesh, just for a discussion here, don't misunderstand me. Can you answer my queries directly, if you don't mind? Is it possible for you, Rupesh?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah. See, are you having a laptop with you now?
Yes, sir. I have laptop.
Very good. So you have a laptop. So your laptop has got a CPU, right?
Yes, sir.
So can I know what CPU you have on your laptop now?
Uh, it's Intel Core i5 7th generation.
Yeah, it is Intel Core i5 7th generation. See, you are able to tell what is your processor that is available on your laptop. i5. You know what is a Core i5 means?
Mm. No, sir.
Why the name Core has come? or what does it I5 signifies, something like that?
Sir, I know, but I forget right now.
Yeah, so right now you forgot, that's okay. But usually, see, like that in your laptop, you have a CPU. Similarly, you have a RAM.
Yes, sir.
You know what is the purpose of a RAM?
RAM is to store the data which we will require frequently.
It is not meant for storing the data. You are going to use the RAM for processing the data. Storing the data is going to happen on your secondary storage device. Which is your secondary storage device?
Hard disk.
Hard disk. So your storing the data is happening on the hard disk, whereas your processing the data is happening on the primary memory. So which is your primary memory?
RAM.
So you should know these minimum things. That's what I'm this. What is the purpose of CPU? What is the purpose of the RAM? So your laptop has got certain Wi-Fi. Most likely
Yes.
your laptop may be having certain Wi-Fi, right?
Yes, sir.
What is Wi-Fi? If I ask you what is that, you are going to give me the answer.
Wi-Fi, it is used to connect to different network.
Yes.
Internet.
So, yes. Technically, how Wi-Fi works? Do you know the idea?
No, sir.
Yes. So I'm not expecting all these things from anybody also, not only you. As a common student, you see, in general, any student will know the terms, but technically they are not aware of how these things work. So I'm not asking you to find out those things for this course at this moment, but these things are to be required for our Internet of Things.
Okay,
Why?
sir.
Because see here. So as the course progresses, you will automatically get the meaning of what is core, what is the meaning of core in your i5, and what is the meaning of RAM, where is the RAM is going to be useful, and similarly what is this Wi-Fi, how this is going to be useful in the wireless communication. Okay, so in the course of our study you will almost get an understanding about what are the different communication technologies. So if you see the syllabus here, can you see my screen here now?
Yes, sir.
See, in this, you have certain communication technologies like MQTT, Zigbee, 6LoWPAN, Bluetooth, COAP, UDP, TCP, LoRaWAN, like this. When you understand these things, it automatically implies for you to get an understanding about your Wi-Fi, your Ethernet communications, as well other things too. Similarly, when you understand what is this ARM Cortex processor, okay, see here, there is something called ARM Cortex processor. So when you understand this ARM Cortex processor, you'll also come to an understanding of what is Core i5 processor is. But it is a processor. You know what is a processor. So what is a processor and all, you might have already studied in your COA course.
Yes.
You know what is a wireless communication meaning? What is the meaning of wireless communication? You might have studied already in your networking course. So those basic things are needed. Not everything is required here. Because those basic things will enable for you to understand easily what is a processor, what is the ARM Cortex processor means, what is Intel processor, what is Intel Core processor. Automatically, you will come to know all those things now in our course of study. So, but I cannot teach you now at this moment what is a processor is, what is a microcontroller is. I can give you definition, I can give you minimum information. Please remember here in this particular course. Okay. So in this course, I can give you basic things. I can just refresh you, but I cannot go in depth about what is a microcontroller and what is a processor. I cannot give you the processor x86 processor architecture. How many pins are there? What are those 40 pins? So if I start explaining all those things, our time will not be sufficient. Okay. So if you see here, how many hours we have planned for this course here? Can you see here the total course can be completed in how many hours?
38 hours.
Yeah, first unit almost 6 hours, second unit 10 hours. So 16, 28, 34 and 38 hours. So at the again another 2 to 3 hours for your assessment, something like this. So 40, 41, 42 hours we will try to complete this. We are planning to complete this course. If I start explaining about what is a processor, what is a microcontroller, what is a wired communication, what is a wireless communication and all, it will go to 60 to 70 hours.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's why I request you all, you do not be panic at this moment, but at the same time, if you have studied computer networking and if you have studied COA, please refresh those contents so that it will be easy for you to go about. Otherwise, you have to put little more efforts in getting the course very fruitful understanding and very effective understanding here. Okay, am I clear to you, Rupesh, now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other queries, please? Please put forward any kind of query you have with you now. Do not worry.
Sir, if you don't mind, can you tell the distribution of marks of this course, sir? Like how
Ah,
it goes?
yeah, Ramya, uh, what is your full name, Ramya?
Bhargavi, sir.
Sorry, I could not see it on the screen. Okay, Ramya Bhargavi. I think you have joined little late, maybe. This query I already answered for the Anurag. Anurag,
Okay.
Anurag has already raised this question in the beginning about the evaluation strategy. See, I will disclose this after the next week because there is more likely that the students will swap their courses or some students are going to join this course yet. So that exercise is not yet completed yet. So let the other students also join and try to get into our course. Then I'll give the complete details. Because if I give now only, they may miss those details and they will get confused and they will miss how we are going about for the next weeks. Yes, I think somebody raised the hand here. 1 second, please. I could not see on the screen. Yeah, Indu, I think Indu, have you raised hand something? Indu, are you online, please? Somebody has raised the hand. Can you please?
No doubt.
Yeah. Can you please? Yeah. Put forward the question. Somebody. Any other queries, please? So only my sincere request is, please do not hesitate. If you are having a second thought, you are welcome to go leave the course. There is no problem. But if you are on to the course, you need to dedicate yourself for this coming 12 to 13 weeks so that you will do justice for this particular course. So I am urging you to be serious, and I assure you that you will do definitely a good thing in this particular course if you are serious for this course. So definitely we will do together some case studies, some experimentations, and each one of you are going to be in this course has to contribute to something which I'm going to give as an exercise for you. That is for sure. Of course, I have a big ambition of having our own IoT lab with cloud. If everything goes fine and those who are serious, they have to come forward in establishing those things, please. And of course, in this process, you'll also learn a lot and you need to spend some time. It's not that without spending time, automatically things will come for you. So your time and efforts are very much required. So please be serious if you are going to attend this course. There's no problem for me. If you want to leave it, I can happily give you the permission. But if you are going to continue, please cooperate and please do involve in the course to get some proper outputs. So I'm expecting a lot of outputs from each one of you, those who are going to take up this course, please.
Sir, I have a general query regarding IoT, sir. Like we have
Yeah.
mobile devices since 1990s and all, no, sir.
Yes,
Like we can
exactly.
consider them to be edge computing platforms itself, no, sir.
Exactly.
So why is that IoT came into boom only during some 2010 or so?
Yeah,
Like
I'll tell you. So the answer is something like this. Uh, can I ask you? You also have a smartphone with you now at this moment, right?
yes, sir.
So what are you doing with that smartphone, please? Can you tell me, if you don't mind?
Like I have a camera to it, so I click pictures and then do communication.
Yes, you are sending those pictures to your friends. Means you are communicating to somebody else. That's all, right?
Not that's all, sir. Like I can do more, but I'm not doing.
Your answer is there. So you said that you can do more, but you are just presently you are just communicating those pictures. That's all, right? So when the cameras were not a very high resolution cameras were there in 1990s and 2000s. Of course, the mobile phone itself has come in 1990s, and that mobile phone at that time is not a smartphone. It is just a featured phone. It has got just a capabilities of having telephonic conversations and having some SMS chattings. So mobile phone has taken up to 2000, 2010. It has taken its own time to have more features of having cameras and audio and other smart features. But see, what happened is, even with that features also, people are slowly evolving in those things. So that's why your edge computing, one of the IoT device, mobile device itself is an IoT device now. So you can make use of this present smart device very effectively. You can put your AI algorithm on your pictures itself. You can run your AI program on your mobile device itself, because your mobile device has got a good processor. It has got a good RAM. It has got a good communication device. But people are not using those resources properly. That is a very unfortunate thing. The problem here is the people are not aware of how to use them. In fact, that is the problem here in the present scenario. Because in the olden days, the mobile phones are not having very much proper resources in the sense a processor, a RAM, a camera. Like this, the old phones are not capable enough to do a lot of data processing. But nowadays, mobile phone is having a lot of resources, is a resource in rich in a resource rich device, in the sense that a processor, a RAM, storage, communication, processing capabilities. But the problem in the present scenario is people are not aware how to embed or how to incorporate AI and ML algorithms onto the present mobile device. Anyway, the olden days people are not able to do much on those mobile devices because that is having less resource capabilities. That is one reason. And people are also not aware of how best those devices can be made use of. That was the only reason. Other than that, but later when people realize that this is one device which everybody, it will be useful for them and everybody can easily handle, and the privacy and all other issues have come into picture. So now people are realizing and they're using much on this mobile device itself. So that's why you see more and more apps are coming, which are related to your health, which are related to your transportation, which are related to your communication, which are related to your other all the day-to-day activities which you are doing are now being managed and controlled by your mobile apps itself. So things are happening now with the help of those mobile devices, and it will be keep continuing also. And new novelties. That's what your ideas have to now come into picture. How best you can make use of those mobile devices in a more effective way, because they are now resource rich. More resources are available for those devices now.
Sir, like, but the sensing capabilities are limited, no, sir. Like, we cannot, like, we cannot. The sensors are not scalable. Like, we cannot go on adding sensors to our mobile device.
Yes. See, the sensors are not that much in reach, but nevertheless, most of the mobile devices have a few sensors already inbuilt in the device. So it all depends on what is that you are going to make use from that particular mobile device. See, if you want to have a particular sensor to your mobile device, you can you can make up your own mobile device to have that sensing facility. That is going to be a custom one, custom mobile device. But if you want to have something which to be done generally, general app with general applications and general features, then it is what your application is going to be there. So here what happens is nowadays you see your sensors and actuators, they are very miniaturized, very small and very tiny. And some of those sensors are already getting into your body itself. And of course, into the environment itself, they are fitted into your environment, they are fitted into your body. They have been already made available. So sensors, of course, the technology is advanced in all aspects. So if you want to realize an application, if you are going to look for a particular certain application, and for that particular application, if you require specific sensors and actuators, you can customize your mobile phone too. You can add your, you can augment your mobile device with your sensing system. When I say sensing system is, you can design and develop your own sensing system and add it to your existing mobile device too. You can customize that. And later when you commercialize that product, the company will definitely incorporate those features with those. So when people wants to buy or use those things, definitely they will use that set of mobiles with those features. It is not in the olden days it was not like that, but nowadays your mobile phone also can be customized based on your requirements. What parts you want to have in the mobile phone also can be customized. That is the level at which your mobile phone is made available in today's market. So do not worry about the availability of sensors. It doesn't mean, so what exactly application you are focusing for that application, what type of sensors, what sensors are required, that you need to figure it out before you start applying. So different things can be realized in a different way. It is not that only a specific sensors are going to be used for certain things. So it all depends on your ideas, the smart ideas. That's what the people's ideas are very much required. If you want to solve a particular problem, your idea is most important. That idea can be solved with different set of sensors. It's not that only one set of sensor is going to be useful. I hope you got my point, Bharadwaj.
Yes, sir.
See, in the olden days, what happens is some medical devices were there. So in order to find out certain information from your body, people used to get that information through different set of sensors and different set of things. It's not that only a particular set of things, only people were able to collect your parameter values from your body. So indirect way of mechanisms are also there, which are more accurate, which are more helpful for these things. So the idea realization is the most important thing here in this current generation. That's why these resources, basically in the olden days means in the last decade, people have an idea that if any machine learning or deep learning or your artificial intelligence techniques are to be deployed for physical things, you require a lot of processing capabilities. It means you need a big processor, you need a big RAM, you need a big storage device, and so on and so forth. But now, please remember, you don't require a big processing capability processor, or big storage device is not required. Big RAM is not required for you. It all depends on your ideas, your smartness. That smartness, you want to get the smartness out of those things. So that's what the trend is. How best you can use these resource constrained computing devices. These Raspberry Pis, Arduinos, and other gateways devices are resource constrained. It means they have limited processing capability, limited RAM, limited storage, but you can make use of those best to get the outputs in a better way. How best you get from those miniature devices is the crux of your invention. Any other doubts, please? Any other queries?